This short video clip provides teachers with the basic fundamentals on what to remember when teaching EMS in the senior phase. Now, the first thing to remember is that EMS is taught over 2 hours per week, and 1 hour of this must be spent on financial literacy. Now, EMS is divided into 3 sections: the economy, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. And the reason for the 1 hour per week with financial literacy is to make sure that the learners get the basics of all the accounting concepts before they move on to FET. So if we look at the economy, this forms the basis for economics for grade 10, 11, and 12. And here they look at topics such as the history of money, needs and wants, goods and services, inequality and poverty, the production process. Then they also look at government and the national budget, standard of living, markets, the economic systems, circular flow, price theory, and trade unions. Now, of course, they don't do this in great detail, but they build on every year from grade 7 onto grade 8 onto grade 9. In financial literacy, as we said earlier, is the basis for accounting. Here they look at savings, budgets, income and expenditure, accounting concepts. They start the accounting cycle, source documents, and then financial management and keeping records. Entrepreneurship forms the basis for business studies. And here they look at a variety of different skills. They look at entrepreneurial skills and knowledge. They look at businesses, factors of production, forms of ownership, the sectors of the economy, the levels and functions of management, functions of a business, and then of course they look at the business plan. Teachers are encouraged to make this as practical as possible so the children really enjoy it, and even more so that their skills are developed, so even if they don't do business studies, they've got those basic skills they can use after school. Now, although your CAPS policy documents go into detail about what the formal assessment tasks should look like and what the weighting should be, this is just a brief overview so you've got an idea of where the different tasks come in. In Term 1, for grade 7, learners are required to do an assignment, which counts 40%, and a control test, which counts 60%. Both of these are taken from the Term 1 topics, and that makes up your complete 100% mark for Term 1. In Term 2, the balance is between, again, 40% and 60%, 40% a case study, taking topics from Term 2, and then your mid-year exam, which takes topics from Term 1 and 2 and counts 60% of the weighting. So that gives you 100% weighting. Now, your Term 3, the learners are required to do a project, which counts 40% of the final marks for your term, and then a control test, which counts 60% of the term mark. Term 4 is slightly different in that there's only one exam, and this exam is 150 marks and includes all topics from Terms 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this counts 100% of Term 4's mark, and this is slightly different to the overall mark for the end of the year. So you get a Term 4 result, which is your exam on its own, and then at the end of the year, you're going to get a combination of Term 1, 2, 3, and 4's results. And the diagram here shows you that Term 1, 2, and 3 make up 40% of the mark, and Term 4 makes up 60% of the mark. And that 100% there is your final mark that the learner is going to get at the end of the year, which gets converted to a code, which decides whether the learner is going to progress or be promoted. Grade 8, slightly different. In Term 1, they're required to do a data response and then a control test, again the balance of 40-60%. In Term 2, a project, and then again the mid-year exam. In Term 3, a case study and a controlled test. And in Term 4, exactly the same as grade 7, where they've got the end of the year exam, which counts 100% of the Term 4 result, however counts 60% of the overall result for the learner for the year. Grade 9, Term 1, there's an assignment and a controlled test. In Term 2, the teachers can choose between a data response or a class test, again with the mid-year exam. Term 3, a project and a control test. And then Term 4, once again, you're 100% from the exam. In grade 9, however, the exam counts 200 marks, but is also from topics from Term 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then, of course, at the end of the year in grade 9, once again, the balance between 40% school-based assessment and 60% exam, giving you your final total for the year. Now, what should EMS teachers be aware of? Well, the first is that because of the change in the curriculum, the learners no longer have the basic terminology they previously had. So EMS used to be in the intermediate phase and was taken out. So teachers need to be aware of this when they're teaching in the senior phase. Teachers also need to remember that it's going to take a bit longer for the learners to grasp the basic accounting skills because they don't have those in the intermediate phase anymore. And then, of course, the most important thing is that teachers need to teach in an enthusiastic way. We want to develop interest in EMS from the word go so that the learners are encouraged to take the commercial subjects in FET.